Okay, check one, check two. Thank you for joining myself, Stephen Ishmael, for Mind Dampening Journaling class workshop for the next hour. Just waiting for our guest Nadine to join us. She'll be facilitating most of the workshop. Where is she?
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, that's a good mic check.
Cool. Hi, everyone. How are you doing?
Leon. Thank you, Leon.
Good.
I just realised you're on your writing Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on the other one. I just got the ox to reactivate and all of that stuff. I'm like,
Oh,
who is this?
that's
Because I
fine.
don't use Instagram like that anyway, so I just feel like even if people were to sign up to the other one, they wouldn't get much engagement from me. So
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. So how are you this fine Sunday?
I'm doing okay. I'm tired, but I'm alive and I'm here and my kids are safe and everyone's well. So yeah, I'm good.
You good?
I'm
You
good.
good time? Okay. Thank you for finding the time to come on and sharing your skills anyway, because I know that
My
you're
pleasure.
quite a busy person. So the fact that
Yes.
we have you there in this space sharing your skill set is really important. So I've got my pen and pad and I'm ready to learn some new
Same,
skills.
same.
So I mean, I've never done journaling before.
Yeah.
Um,
Never in your life at all, ever?
I'm trying to think. Not really. I mean, I've done quite a few mind dampening exercises where I write to music. I've done poetry slams where I've learned to write poetry, and I think we've used streams of consciousness where you write however you feel in the moment.
So you've done journaling
Is that journaling?
then?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it all comes under the umbrella of expressive writing. So if you've done any sort of expressive writing, especially if it pertains to yourself, then you've done
Okay.
some form of journaling, yeah.
Okay. So I've done that. I've done a few poetry slams on the project that I work on. So I've done where they give you a word or a topic. What's the word? What's that lexicon field type of stuff? Like I
Yeah,
really pay attention when I do poetry slam because I learn so many things, and then it all kind of binds together.
yeah.
So
Because I think with journaling, one of the myths are, yeah, there's ways where things are structured like anything. So in any type of writing, you have conventions. But
yeah.
with journaling, yes, depending on the type of journaling that you want to do, there may be conventions, but ultimately you make it your own. So it could be as creative or as basic as you want it to be. It just depends on what fits in with your style, what your needs are, what feels comfortable. So yeah.
Okay. So how would you like warm people up? Say.
In the space as a whole, the first thing I like to do is find out why everybody's in the space. So it'll
Yeah.
take like 5 minutes and I'll be like, okay, just write down what brought you to the space, how you're feeling about it, and potentially what you want to get out of this. And it's a nice way. I don't know if are you getting an echo in on your end?
There was a little bit of reverb behind you, but you know.
Yeah, because I'm getting it on my end. But if you're not getting yours, that's fine. Hopefully,
Okay.
it's not interfering. And then that basically allows me to gauge where everybody's at. see what everybody's comfortable in. Also, how everybody likes to write, because some people will write paragraphs, some people might just listen. And you can kind of see like, okay, so maybe I can flip this exercise and it can tailor specifically for that person, but everyone's still getting a new experience. And then once we've kind of deciphered where we're all at and why we came here, and it kind of helps to give like an icebreaker feel to the session, then I usually follow up with how are you feeling right now, this second in general. So this could be about what's happened to you today, what's happened this week, how you felt this morning. And we start to unpack it in regards to how's your heart feeling. So usually when people are like, oh, how are you feeling? Your reaction is to be like, yeah, I'm fine. Because for the most part, we're built up like you don't burden other people with your stuff. Like you just deal with it by yourself. And it's like, no, how's your heart feeling? Like how literally do you feel emotionally? How's your body feeling? How is it feeling energetically? Is there tension anywhere? Does it feel light? Does it feel heavy? If so, where is it located? Is it an ongoing problem? You always get this when, I don't know, you've had an argument with a specific person and you realise you always get tension in your neck.
I had that this week.
Do you get what I mean? And then we follow on with what's your spirit telling you? So I usually say like, what spirit whispering to you? Like take a deeper look. What internally are you saying to yourself? What's that intuitive voice saying to you? And some people, because they don't take time out of their day to do stuff like that and just literally check in with themselves, it's a really big thing for them because you're always focusing on energy everywhere else. You've got to go to work, you've got to cook the food, you've got to do the food shop, you want to watch a program, you've got to call your friend, whatever, that you don't think, how am I actually feeling? Like, what actually happened to me today? What can I do better tomorrow? Did I really need to do that? So for me, journaling is something where it not only allows me to check in with myself, but it allows me to process what's happening, whether it's past, present, or what I want to take place tomorrow.
Okay. And how often would you say you journal? Just while I'm asking you the question, just to big up Proud and Gifted, doing fantastic work out of Hackney, working with the young people. So Stephen he basically goes out into the community and he awards young people. So he basically rewards them for doing the right thing and giving them a platform to talk about what they do.
Yeah, that people are saying that it's echoing.
Okay. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to come off. I'll jump off and then I'll jump back on and see if that does anything.
Okay.
If I can figure out how to do it. Bear with me. Okay.
Right, so while we wait, thank you, Floss London, for giving us feedback. Nadine's gonna jump back on. While do I have any reverb? You could let me know in the chat. Yeah, so I brought Nadine on today because she's a fantastic writer, but she also does workshops around journaling. So I'm new, as I said before, I'm new to journaling. I've never done it before, and I think it's something that we could all benefit from. Let's see if she's
Can everyone hear me now? Or is it still echoing?
No, that's a little bit better. You got headphones on?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to help. Because I'm still getting feedback.
No, there's no reverb now, but I mean...
Okay, we'll leave it. I can cope with the feedback. I just don't want everyone else to get irritated.
Yeah, so what was my question to you again is, how often do you journal? And is it something like you do according to how you feel, or is it like a daily practice?
I try to keep it daily. And being human, there's days where I just don't do it because I can't bothered, or I might not be in the mood. But on average, I try to aim for at least 4 to 5 days out of the week. If I really want to process something, I might journal multiple times throughout the day. And it might just be short little bursts. So it could be in my notebook, or I could quickly put something in my notes on my phone. whatever's to hand. There's even been times like I'll just write something on a scrap of paper and I'll just put it down and I'll put it in my journal later. Yeah.
So it could be like a bubble.
Yeah, literally. There's exercises where it's usually pertaining to like gratitude or affirmations. You can like put it on a post-it, fold it up, put it in a jar, and whenever you're having a moment, you just pick one out. But sometimes I will just write on a post-it and I'll just put it somewhere.
Okay. I struggle with affirmations, I'm not going to lie.
Affirmations don't work unless you action them. That's something I had to learn the hard way.
I just find them a bit corny, but that's just me.
I think it's a thing of, because I use them in the work I do. So at the end of my sessions, I like everyone to kind of write an affirmation or a mantra to kind of get them through the next week, season, whatever. But what I learned is, because we think of affirmations just as I am, you find it hard. If it's not something that you do regularly, or if you're struggling with your confidence or like self-belief, you saying I am worthy or I am confident. If you don't believe it and then you don't action it, you're just saying stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like it's so far removed from like reality. So
Yeah.
I know that progress is incremental. So me saying I'm so far from that, it feels like getting
feels
to
alien.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like just saying it isn't gonna all of a sudden. I mean, there's so much shadow work that needs to be done, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So for me, what I tell people now is, it doesn't have to be I am. Think about what it is you're trying to get to, and then the micro steps are, what small things can I do to make that my reality?
Yeah.
So don't just own the end goal. Start putting your position in as to, what do I need to do for that to be the thing? How can I measure when I've even reached there? It's fair and good saying, oh, I am confident. How do you know when you're confident? To yourself. So what limitations and what measures are you put in that you can say, okay, well, when I get to this certain peak, then I know I'm confident, and then I can roll with that.
Okay.
And I think when you start actioning it with the, I can do X, Y, Z, or I will do X, Y, Z, you're still affirming yourself. You're still giving yourself permission to be, but you're also programming yourself that this is going to be a process. Okay. And I think that's where the struggle is, the little disconnect of like, I really want to be this thing and I really believe that I can, but I just don't believe it now. And I think because there is a disconnect, it disheartens people and they just feel like, well, it's not happening. I want to be deserving and nothing's happening. Like, why? I've been chanting it, I've been writing it down, I've been saying it in the mirror, I've been telling my friends. And it's like, yeah, but what have you been doing in between to make that happen? I could say I want to be a millionaire, but £1 million isn't going to drop on my lap.
No.
It's like, you got to make it make sense.
Yeah. So that's what I personally struggle with when I like listen to, when I go on like apps and I'm trying to do a meditation and it's just like, I am this. It's just so corny. You know, because where you are, I know they're talking to everyone, but it's a bit like when you're going through difficulty, there's one thing saying it, but the shadow work is so much harder.
Yeah.
Getting fed.
Yeah.
You know, going to work every day, that equanimity of life where it's just like mundane things. And
that's why, for me, journaling is so important in my daily practices, because if you're not processing stuff, if you don't know how to tap into your feelings, if you're not labeling your feelings correctly, like it's all fair and good saying I'm angry. Are you angry or are you frustrated? Are you angry or are you disappointed? Are you angry or are you fearful? Like, things can show in so many different ways that when you generalize it, it's easy to kind of overlook or bypass things that you need to pay attention to. So if it turns out I'm not angry, I'm frustrated, what's frustrating you? Start stepping backwards and figuring, okay, well, I wasn't frustrated yesterday, but this morning when I woke up, because, I don't know, I missed my train, now all of a sudden I'm just heated. Why are you getting that heated? So it's that you have to...
Do you think people are able to differentiate I mean, that's the kind of thing where,
You have to learn it.
yeah, it's not
You
something
have
that.
to, yeah, you won't just wake up. I think one of the good tools that you can find on like Pinterest or even on like Google, is the emotional wheel.
Oh,
That's really good.
speak more
It's
about
literally,
that.
so basically it's a circle. It's like circle in a circle in a circle. So you have
Oh,
like, we'll call them like your fundamental type of emotion. So happy, sad, angry, blah, blah. And then off each emotion might stem three other emotions. And then it starts to make it more nuanced now. So like I said, it could be frustrated, rageful, fearful, and then it could branch off from those. And you can kind of start to see, okay, that's what I'm actually feeling. And yes, it may come under the umbrella of anger, but it's not necessarily anger.
okay.
So
Um,
with most people that write, or most people that think that obviously words hold power and language is important, when you can start to decipher and pinpoint what the actual emotion or feeling is, it makes it easier to start unpacking where it's coming from, why it's happening.
okay.
It's still echoing. Why is it doing this?
I'm gonna move into another room because I don't have the best service here. So,
I could do my service as well.
if you could give me some feedback as to how it sounds. I've gone into a room that has the worst service in the house. Quietest room, yeah.
I think it's me though. I don't think it's you.
We'll work with what we have though.
Yeah, it's my service.
We're trying to sort out the text. You see the three circles? See what you just mentioned?
Yeah.
So the first word, does it go in the first small circle or in the
Yeah, so
outer?
it goes on the inner circle
So that's what I've
and then
done.
it goes out. Yeah.
So
And then you divide it.
So look, not to do happy. Let's do a difficult word. Say
I think I have an example somewhere, you know.
grab it.
Let me see if I've got it here with me.
So like an everyday word that we everyday emotion that we feel.
If you say happy, for example.
Okay, I'm gonna put happy in the middle. Yeah, and
And
then in
then
the next sentence.
if you do because you kind of want it to look like a pie chart almost of equal sizes.
Oh, so pie chart divided into three.
Yeah, so it's just different segments.
All right, let me
So
do that
say
now.
like if you had a circle, you've got all three of your circles and you wanted to split it into equal parts, like if you were doing a fraction or like symmetry.
Yeah. Like a
And
Venn
then
diagram.
and then each part,
Yeah, I got you.
the core emotions will be in the center and then it will branch out into different.
It's not the best one,
I
but
can't find the paper.
don't worry, just freestyle.
Let me draw it actually. So
So while we're waiting for Nadine to draw her diagram, welcome everybody who's on the chat. Thank you for tuning in. This is Stephen Ishmael Thomas and Nadine. What's your read but no shade?
yeah.
Journaling teacher, and my code for today.
And then that could be I'm trying to think of a word.
Any word.
Okay, so for example, this is what it would be like. I don't know if you guys can see this. So,
A little bit. If you take out the light,
yeah, let me see if I can do it this way.
get some light reflection.
So in the center, you'll have like happy, sad, angry.
Happy, sad, angry. Yeah, got that.
And then, so as you can see, like from happy, it could branch off. It could be like 1, 2, or 3 additional segments. So it would be like joyful, cheerful,
Okay.
and then it will branch off again, and then it could go into ecstatic. So
Okay.
it starts to change and become very specific, because we know that those things have specific emotions and ranges that they come with.
Yeah. So you're kind of zooming right in on how you actually feel.
Yeah,
Okay. So it's almost like a body scan,
yeah,
but more your emotional state of mind.
yeah.
That's
And you
really
don't have
good.
to use it all the time. But for me personally, and the people that I've worked with, it helps to really decipher where you're at, and it allows you to meet yourself where you're at, because now you're focusing and you're confronting and you're challenging and you're working through a specific thing. It removes all the generalization, because sometimes that can cause confusion into where it is you're trying to get to from where you are now.
Yeah. Okay. And is that a warm up exercise?
Sometimes I use it as a warm-up, but once you kind of learn how to check in with yourself first, it becomes your own second nature.
Okay.
Because you have to remember, when we're born, when we're babies, these are the type of things that we're conditioned to not follow with anymore.
What do you mean?
As
So
in,
as
babies, if they're scared, they know they're scared. It's not any other thing. As we get older, we're conditioned to make things into something else.
So as under twos say, we know what raw emotion is. We know how we feel at that particular moment.
Yeah.
But as we get older, what we start to embellish our
We
feelings.
embellish, or we try and justify, or we negate it, or we convince ourselves it's something else when it's not. Like, for example, if someone's depressed, you have, I'm not sure if it's the right term, but like when they're depressed, but they can function on a day to day.
Yeah, I don't know what the term. I know what you mean though.
And that in itself, you're not happy, but you've taught yourself, or you've been conditioned in a way, or you learned a way of being able to mask it. So now you present it as something else, and you're able to make yourself believe it's that thing, so you can function.
Yeah.
And make it through the day.
Okay.
So when you do these type of exercises, it is important that you're mindful of what you're doing, because with things like that, there's always going to be underlying experiences or memories or other emotions that are going to come to the surface. And that's one thing about journaling. As much as it's a practice that can help to regulate your emotions, it can also reveal things that you might not know that were laying at the bottom. So when people come into the spaces that I provide, it is very much about being intentional and being mindful, because I've had people just like burst into tears and not know that that was going to happen. And I can't plan for it because I haven't lived your life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good thing to have in your back pocket, but you also have to, like I said, be mindful of how you're going about it.
So then you would have to kind of start doing like real therapy work alongside.
Yeah.
Because there's no
Like
point.
journaling isn't therapy. For me personally, it's my confidant, it's my safe space, it's where I get to be myself. But I would encourage people to use it as something supplementary to, if they are in a position where they feel they want to have therapy or counselling, or they've been referred to. And even if their therapist or counsellor hasn't brought it to their attention, they can request it or find out if it's something that they do, and you can get additional help with doing exercises that relate to writing practices.
Okay, so if someone comes to you and they've got a history of like family trauma and they've reached adulthood and even though they want to do the shadow work, they kind of don't know where to start, kind of thing. Would you say to them you're happy for them to join in the sessions, but they still need to find like the clinical alternatives?
Yeah. Like I make it explicitly clear, like I'm not a counselor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm not here to diagnose. I'm not here to speculate. You come, we write, you bring stuff to the table, you might learn stuff about yourself. You interpret the prompts in the way that they pertain to you. So I could ask you a prompt, I could ask a group, and everyone's going to attack it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going by your own lived experiences. It could be as simple as, what are you grateful for? And you might say, I'm grateful for the dinner I had yesterday. And then the person on the other side of the room could be like, oh, I'm grateful because I'm alive. Do you know what I mean? Like, what would make you both have those different things is your lived experience. So when it comes to things that I know are going to be quite deep rooted,
Mm-hmm.
I would want you to, depending on how comfortable you are, to express where you're at with that, whether that's privately or within the group. But if it's something that you know that does cause you some deep-rooted trauma, I would most definitely ask, like, are you seeing somebody, a medical professional about this? Because I don't want to put you in a situation where you've dredged up something now and now you can't cope.
Mm.
And I'm not in a position to help you. I can help you source places, but I can't be like, oh yes, this is what Dr. So-and-so considers to be. No, like I'm not about to pretend. You need to go and seek out the help that you need in the areas that you're looking for.
That's really useful to know, because I think sometimes people use these methods as a shortcut, or keep it's light, but nothing is ever light. It's just
It's not like,
as you said, to supplement the real, like your real stuff with a practitioner that's knows how to enable you, but also keep you safe as you unpack yourself. Because it can be quite scary. Welcome. It can be quite scary just being vulnerable, isn't it?
yeah. And and I think sometimes that's what puts people off journaling.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you think about it, most of the time, especially in the world that we live in, it's about connecting to everybody. You must always be connected. You must always be on. You always be talking to somebody. Someone's always going to be talking to you. And with journaling, it's you by yourself. Even if we're in a group doing a workshop, you're writing your own stuff by yourself. It's not about anybody else. And for some people, that vulnerability in itself is uncomfortable.
Yeah, because I know when I've done poetry, I'm extremely vulnerable.
Yeah, you're exposing yourself because you're putting yourself out there.
It's the most vulnerable feeling. It's like I've never felt as exposed when I'm like having to read out, even if it's feedback. I don't even want to share it.
Yeah.
Like, let me read it inside. No, I don't want you to read it. So I can't
I've done
imagine
that
how
before.
young people feel when they're going on that poetry journey. You know, it's a real, like, they learn so much in a short space of time. And, seeing, and it isn't just the end product, it's the journey they kind of go on, the things they're talking about, the fact that they're public speaking, something they would have even considered doing a couple of weeks ago, and sharing something that's so, like,
Personal.
yeah. It's really like when we see young people like really exposing themselves, it's like they kind of know that they've gone on a real journey. So with the journaling now, it must be a real, like, unpacking.
Yeah, because I let people know that I don't always just do the generic journal prompts. And this is why sometimes it's like you have to be, when you come into my spaces, it's comforting, but it's also challenging. Like, you can go on Pinterest and ask yourself, how do I feel today? But what does it look like if I ask you, what lies have you been telling yourself recently? That's a whole different thing, because most people don't want to think about that. Do you know what I mean?
Say that one
Or
again.
what lies have you been telling yourself? That's the
What this week?
equivalent of what are you fearful of? And when I write stuff that I'm fearful of, there was a time when I was like, but I'm still lying to myself, because that's not the actual thing that I'm scared of. It's deeper than that. And then you start to realize, wow, that's why I'm scared. It's not because I don't like public speaking. It's because, I don't know, for example, when I did a play in primary school, I forgot my lines and somebody laughed in the crowd. So now it's deeper than just, I don't want to talk because I don't like talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like it's definitely, well, I can only speak for the services I provide. It's definitely something where you're really going to start to learn about yourself.
Okay.
And that's where the challenge is.
The memory to the emotion. And I think
Yeah, it's a to and fro. So it might be light for a second, but then it's going to get a little bit heavy. And then it's going to get light again. And then we're going to talk about it as a group. And then you're going to share. Yeah.
And that's why I love that film Inside Out, where it talks, it's almost like, soon as something happens, you will go into your database. And if I could do the brainology stuff, I had time to go back in my life and find out how the brain works, you know, that when you feel a certain type of way, you will go into your database and you will find something attached to that emotional feeling. Yeah. And it could be like 5 days ago, it could be 20 years ago, you know, and it's funny is I want to know why we do that, you know,
It's
find out.
protection, they say, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
That your mind learns to compartmentalize things.
Yeah, so
So
why
if something's really traumatic, it almost does it as a way to protect you, because you're not ready to process it.
Okay.
And I swear that's like why we have things like flashbacks. Because
So
like a little bit of it just comes out, this little, and then you remember being like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go there.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to look deep dive in all that stuff, but there's no the time. You know, the time that we have on the planet. It's like, okay, I have to do other stuff. I'd be really interested in finding out, like, why the oldest parts of the brain work a certain way, and the newer parts work like they're a bit more cognitive. You know, because even though when I talk to you, like, your brain isn't that old, but the way it works is millions of years older than a bit. They're baffling. You know? What do you mean? How can it be million? All you're doing, you're just getting an upgrade. It's like when you get a new phone.
Yeah.
You know, the phone is the phone, but the newer phone works a little bit better.
A little bit, yeah. And it doesn't wipe away what was on there before. It's just enhanced a couple bits.
Yeah, and even then, you'd like the way the old phone worked. Yeah, and now there's a new, you know, like we go see your mum and daddy, and it's like, here's a new phone. They're like, no, I don't like this. You know, I'm really comfortable with just, well, why is it doing all of this? It kind of feels that way.
Yeah. Brain
You know,
overload, isn't it?
yeah. So, I mean, in terms of, I like that exercise where you kind of like dissect the different emotions. What else would you do as a icebreaker?
Sometimes we might start off with gratitude. Once again, it helps you gauge where people are at. What do they class as important to themselves?
Yeah.
I've also done things like write a letter to yourself. So we'll take maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, okay, write a letter, not necessarily to your younger self. There's times I've done things like write a letter to your future self.
I've done that before. Right.
And talk about what you've learned now in the present and how you want your future self to use that in the future. And it kind of helps you start to marry up, like, what's my goals then? What's my tasks? What am I really striving for? It gets you focused.
Okay. So there's lots and lots of reflection.
Yeah, it's lots of reflection. Intention setting is another one to do ice breaking. What's your intentions? What does certain things mean to you? So if I said to you, we're going to start talking about, it could be self-love. So we're doing a workshop on self-love.
Just pick self-love. Right, self-love.
We've done an icebreaker. So everybody said what their intentions are for being here today, what they want to get out of it. And then the next thing will be, how do you define self-love? And I guarantee you everyone's going to have something different. And for me, there's times I'm very specific. So it'd be like, we're not talking about self-love in regards to, oh, I get my nails done and I get my facial and I have a massage and then I drink wine. No, what does self-love look for you in regards to how you're honoring yourself? Then they'll write down what they say and then it'd be like, okay, so why do you consider this particular practice that you do as a way of honoring yourself? Was you taught that? Is it something you cultivated yourself? How often do you do it? Why is it important for you to do that? If that's what you could, because some people consider things self-love, but they don't practice it, especially Black women. And then you have to ask them, okay, why do you struggle to implement that into your day-to-day or into your weekly routine?
Why is it that I'm gonna use women of color, especially, you're talking as a woman of color, why is it that they don't, what's the historical reason or cultural reason why they don't seem to practice?
What I found from being a Black woman, and because I predominantly work with Black women, it usually stems from the fact that we are positioned culturally in most places, historically before the colonialism and all of that stuff, but we're predominantly positioned at the bottom. We're the people that carry the load for everybody else. We're the people that are given the grains and said that we have to be grateful that we've been given them. We're the ones that can't get seats at the table and then we're considered too aggressive or too emotional when we try to make ourselves our own seat to sit at the table. We're always confined in margins where you're either hypersexualized, you're the caregiver and the nurturer, or you're the one that just is out here being all things to all people. And it's your job to be that. So by the time you've done that for everybody else, you don't have space for yourself. So there's a lot of things when I've worked with Black women specifically, or women of color specifically, when we do exercises, you start to see they know what they want, they know what they need, but they also are very hyper aware that they're not afforded the luxury of having these things. So a lot of things that come up typically is like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I don't have time to rest. I get up, I go to work, I come home, I deal with the kids, I sort out my house, I deal with my partner, I go to bed, I wake up, I go to work, I deal with it. It's the same thing all the time. And it's not because we can't do it, it's because we are conditioned to think we can't. And in turn, it's because some people don't think they're deserving or worthy of showing themselves that. And it's because there's sometimes like a guilt that comes with it. Like, oh my God, I've like told somebody no, so I can do X, Y, Z, so I can sleep. I've told people I'm not taking any calls after 8. Like certain simple boundaries like that, women of color struggle with so bad. And it's really sad to see that you won't even give yourself the time to sleep. And when they do my sessions, things like this come up. And I consider it to be my role as the guide and facilitator to help you find out ways in which you can do that. So what boundaries are you setting? What is it that you really like? What are your immediate needs? And that's sometimes a tricky question for people to answer because they don't think, what do I actually need? Like if you could have any of your needs met right now, what are your needs? To sleep, to have something to eat, to ask for support is another one. Black women, a lot of Black women don't ask for support. We'll just suffer in silence and we'll get on with it. And when they've done a couple sessions or they come to a couple group sessions, and you might see the familiar face that was there last week, or there's somebody that's come this week and you have a similar lived experience, and you start to kind of see this sisterhood and community growing. It empowers them to be like, oh my God, like I can. Or they'll come back with feedback like, oh, this week I made sure that I went to bed at 8 o'clock and I did it for the rest of the week and I feel so good this week. I don't know why I didn't do it before. And it's almost like, it's nice for me to be able to give these women permission to do that for themselves, because I used to be the same way. And there's still times when I am the same way because I'm only human. But because I'm aware, like they say, when you know better, you do better. So now I can feel it in my body when I'm like, oh my days, I'm going to burn out. What do I need to do so I don't burn out? Well, I need to make sure that when I finish work, I don't go back on my computer for the rest of the day. I need to make sure I'm drinking my water. I need to make sure I get the kids sorted. And because the majority of my kids are older, I can be like, look, I'm going to bed at 8:30. Make sure you get what you need. You ask me what you want, because after that, I'm not here unless there's an accident. You know what I mean? I need you to just let me be, even if it's for like 30 minutes, just let me meditate. Let me watch my program in peace without interruption. And I think because I create that avenue, it then allows for that woman to be like, well, I want to give myself permission to do it. And once they give themselves permission, it's like you've unlocked something in their brain. And then you start thinking, okay, so I've done that and that worked. What else? What are my other immediate needs? What do I want now? What do I need more of? What do I need less of? What can I keep the same, but I might just need to make a few adjustments to it to improve it. It's like you have to almost... The only way I can put it is things like journaling and writing practice is a way for you to literally surrender to yourself. Because the reality is, no one should be reading a journal. That's your space to say what you want, how you want, cuss, swear, cry, get angry, tear the page out, whatever you want to do. And when you're in a position, in this case, as a woman of color or a black woman, and you know you're not afforded these things, and you don't feel you might be able to go to your friends because they're in a similar position to you, you can literally go to your journal in whatever format that is, whether that's a book, a post-it, a phone, a big ass A4 piece of paper on your wall, however you want to do it, and just literally let go of it all. You start to free up a lot of your mind space, which allows for you to start to become, gain more clarity. You'll get a deeper understanding about yourself. You'll get to really get in tune with your own emotions. You'll start to hear your own intuitive voice. So it'll be less inner critic and more intuitive voice. And you'll be able to start trusting your intuition a bit more. And then what's great about it is that you can go back over everything. Like you can sit down and read your journal again. And you can start to see patterns. Sometimes I did a program, one of my first initial programs, and we would recap, and like your homework would be, okay, so this is your inner work, this is what I want you to do, your writing practices on for the week, and I want you to read over it and highlight things that are standing out to you. So it could be a word, it could be an emotion, it could be a phrase, it could be a memory, and then you start to see things that connect up, or things that you thought you worked through and you haven't worked through. Because remember, healing isn't necessarily a linear thing. It's circular. It will keep going and going. Like, you're never going to be fully happy. You're never going to be fully joyful. You're never going to be fully healed, because life just isn't set up that way. There's always going to be something you want to change, you want to improve, you want to leave, you want to bring back. But when you journal stuff down, you can see how it's happening. And it's almost in real time. And it's your words and it's your experience. Ultimately, it's your truth. And it starts to center you and it starts to ground you, and you get a deeper understanding of who you are, why you are the way you are, and in turn how to advocate for yourself thereafter. So there's a lot of power that comes with it. There's power that comes with words in general, but there's a lot of internal power that I think the majority of us don't even know we possess, because we're too busy connecting with everyone else and being told you have to be everywhere else.
Yeah, you've sold. I think that sometimes when people are selling something to you, if they're not doing it themselves,
Yeah, I
so
don't do anything that I don't tell.
yeah,
Nothing that I told people to do, I haven't done.
I can hear that. I
Yeah,
can hear that in the way that you talk about your work. Oh,
yeah. People can't hear me. I'm not sure why that is. Let me see. I'm going to try and go outside. Let me see if that makes a difference. If I actually come out my house.
another slightly better location. Yeah, all of these.
Can you hear me? Still feedback,
I think
isn't it?
it's fine. It's whether the audience can. I haven't got any feedback, reverb
I'm not
from you.
sure. I'm getting it on mine though.
You getting it on yours?
Now,
Okay,
still
someone in
doing
the
it with it
chat
on me.
can give some feedback in terms of how Nadine sounds. So, I mean, you almost touched on the benefits of continuous writing and journaling, not just picking up a pen for 1 minute. If if you're doing it continuously, you should you should start to see a change in how your brain is wired, and
Yeah.
also how you connect with your. You mentioned the inner voice.
Yeah. So how you connect with yourself, and it's not something that happens overnight. Like anything, you have to practice it. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. I used to say to people as an icebreaker, it's like sex. The more you have sex, the more you want to have sex with somebody. It's literally what you're doing to yourself. The more you're spending that time with yourself and you start to be like, oh my God, this feels good. Like I get it. Like I'm seeing a difference. It makes me feel happy, blah, blah. You'll do more of it.
Mm,
Because after a while, your body's going to respond to it like, okay, this is what I'm about to do. So now I literally purge on pages. There's times I can sit down and write like pages on pages on pages, not even knowing that when I open my journal, that's what was going to happen. To
all
date, I
right.
think the most pages I've ever written is 14 in one sitting, and I've just sat there and written.
Sat there. Let's just go through the process. So you'll sit down, take a deep breath, have your pad, have your pen or pencil, or whatever, and you just write how you feel.
Yeah, so I will, especially if my baby's gone down to sleep because I've got a 2-year-old,
Mm,
I'll just do a couple deep breaths, which I do in my exercises. I'd like to lead with a breathing exercise, so like box breathing. So
yeah.
we do box breathing to start off with, and we do breathing to end.
Can you explain to the people in what box breathing is?
So
Untitled
box
Chapter,
breathing is, you
someone
can
else
correct me
can-
if I'm wrong. This is how
No,
I do it.
give your
So
version of box
what we
breathing.
start off doing, we just like find comfortable position, make sure your feet are flat on the floor. You're not like this, because a lot of people start off all the
Yeah,
way
they
up
do
there.
that all the
You're
time.
down here, you unclench your jaw, you take your tongue off the roof of your mouth, because sometimes we unclench our jaw, but we're still like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
still
yeah,
tense.
yeah.
To relax everything. And then we just start off breathing normally. And it's just about you listening to your breath. Then it turns into, I want you to start letting your breath travel to the bottom of your feet and then back up.
Okay.
And then we progress into, I want you to start doing a deep inhalation through your nose for 4,
Mm-hmm.
hold, and then out for 4. And the reason why I usually ask people to do it out of their nose is because when you breathe out of your mouth, your body will warm up.
Mm.
And that's why it's used a lot to like breathe through your nose and out of your mouth when you're exercising. But to like relax yourself, I prefer for people to inhale through their nose and exhale through their nose. And then it's about you focusing on the inhalation, exhalation, inhalation, exhalation. So when I do it at the end of a session, that's usually when we've done the affirmations. So now it turns into when you inhale what you're trying to affirm, and you exhale anything that you think is going to get in your way. So by the
Yeah.
time you've left, you're like, okay, like I'm ready, I'm pumped, I can do this. We're good to go. So that's how I use box breathing. So sometimes I'll do it for like 5 minutes, and it kind of just helps me to not necessarily clear my thoughts so I'm not thinking of anything, because you can't, it's not going to happen. There's always going to be something going around. But it just allows me to release any tension and kind of relax into what I'm about to get into, because even though I'm someone that facilitates journal therapy, I don't know what's going to come up for me. There's times I could be writing and halfway through it takes a completely different direction and I'm talking about something else that's like triggered me in some way, or I want to celebrate in some way. And I just write until I don't need to write anymore, unless I'm interrupted.
So you literally have it's like
a meditative state.
So you outpour until you feel like you've everything that's needed to come out.
I need to say, yeah.
Come out. Okay.
And it will change. So like when I did the 14 pages, some of it I was what you call conscious writing. So stream of consciousness, where you're literally just writing whatever pops in your head. And then it might turn into me talking about a specific thing. Then that might turn into me just making quick lists. So this made me feel da 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 da. Then I might start elaborating on what one of the feelings were. Then I might go into something else. And it's just so that I'm not carrying the stale energy around with me. But it's also the same if I want to celebrate something, because I journal if I'm happy as well. It's not just for, oh my God, woe is me, life's so hard, why is this happening? I journal about like when I launched my first book. Like that was a big thing for me. And because I keep my journals, that's something I want to look back on. That's something I would love for my children to open up one day and be like, oh my God, my mum was so cool, like she wrote a book and this is the day that she did it and this is how she felt. So although yes, I say your journal isn't for you to have other people read, for me, I just think like legacy wise, I want my children to know who I was outside of being their mum. And I think a really cool way for them to do that is to read my journals.
Yes, cultural capital.
Because I wish there were things that my family, my parents did. I wish I knew what they were thinking or why they did it or what happened. Because it gives you, it makes that person more human. Because it's similar for most people that have children or are caregivers, when you're just like, oh my God, I understand why my mum used to say that, or I understand why my mum does this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to think like, my mum's a human, my dad's a human. At the time, you're just thinking, oh, for God's sake, Dad.
Yeah.
But as you grow, and you're not always going to have those conversations with them, because sometimes, especially like in a black culture, like big people business, isn't it? You're not going to ask them. There's certain things to this day I'm not going to ask my mum, as much as I would want to know.
I'm just nosy like that, but I can understand.
Do you get what I mean? And I would just like for them to have that part of me, especially because it's parts of me that everybody's not going to see. But I would love for my children to be able to see that.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah, you know, I think our children, I want to call children, some of them are young people, they need to see us vulnerable. You know, I can't really remember a time where I saw my parents vulnerable. And I know that's a cultural thing where you can't see me at my most vulnerable, weakest, because it's not something that I want you to see because I'm your mum or your dad. But it's important, especially for the generation coming up, especially because we've gone through a pandemic, to see you in your most difficult moments so they can see how resilient you've become, or you're going through a process of learning to be resilient. And sometimes they need to see you crying. They need to see you struggling. They don't know it's part of the human experience, not to see you as superheroes, because we're not. You know, there are times I want to deal with you. You just leave me alone. I'll give you an hour and I'll get back to you, but I'm tired. I need to reset. We're not doing that now.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to be honest with them, and you got to be honest with yourself.
Exactly. You're just, literally, it's about leading by example. Because I just think to myself, you're predominantly with me for the best part of your day.
So the school teachers might beg to differ, but yeah.
So we won't go there. We have our talks, we won't go there with that. But it's like, I'm going to be 40 next year. Yeah. And it's taken me like the past, say, it'll be 5 years, 6 years, where I really I'm doing the work on myself. and I've done my research and I'm doing the things that I know work for me and stuff like that. And a lot of it is unprogramming what I've been taught. And it's not because my mum and dad taught me bad. They taught me what they knew to be true to them. Schooling, society teaches you things, you absorb things, whether you realize it or not. So a lot of stuff that's gotten me to where I am is because I'm trying to have less of certain things so I can make more space for what I know I really need and want.
Okay.
I
So
need to move in that way so my kids can move in the same way.
I'll ask you another. Right. So we're 56 minutes in. Yeah. So I know it kind of stops at 1 hour. Now, I know you're pressed for time. Do you want to come in and do another 10 more minutes if you feel you need to say a little bit more? Or are you
If you want to
happy
ask me more, we can do 10 more minutes, but I do have to go soon just because I've got my sister here.
So we can do a little 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Where you kind of let people know where they can find you,
Yeah, that's
wherever
cool.
you're coming up, and then we'll wrap it up because I know that time is of the essence, and I don't want to take up too much of your time because an hour is golden. Yeah. So when it finishes, we're gonna do another 5 minutes on the other side,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
cool.
we'll wrap it up. You can let everybody know where
Where
they
to
can
find
find
me.
you, what you got coming up, and maybe leave something that they can use in their daily lives, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So everybody get your pens and papers.
Yeah, but I mean,
Just so
we've
you
still
can write
got
down
like
some
2
facts. But
minutes,
yeah.
but I just wanted to make sure that I told you that before he just cuts off, and then
Yeah, that's fine. We can jump back on.
yeah, I think what you've done. I mean, I've never done any real journaling before, but I've really been sold on some of the things that, not because these I'm a bit like, right, right,
Of course you have.
and I'm going back to school as like English, but I've learned so much being in school and being in like creative workshops,
Hmm.
you know, about the power of expression and writing and being able to communicate effectively,
Mm.
you know, all the things that we need to kind of use when we're communicating. I mean, you don't have to say much, but I think a lot of words are wasted. You
Yeah.
know,
Words are currency is what my English
yeah,
teacher used to say.
people don't listen well. So there's lots of conversations that I had over and over again. So I'm not the best listener, but I've learned in the last couple of years to be a lot better.
Mm.
You know, with my listening intentions. You know, the way I look at people, the way I try to listen, not to interrupt or interject. If it's something that I might not like, is it me taking it personal, or is it somebody talking their truth or a
Mm.
truth that I needed to hear? So all of these things are a learning process for me. And even when I'm talking to myself, is it my ego or is it my
Mm.
intuitive voice? And being able to understand the differences between the two.
Yeah. That just reminds me of the book, The Four Agreements. If people haven't read that, read that book. The Four Agreements. I can't remember
The four
person's
agreements.
name, but if you type The Four Agreements on Amazon, it will pop up. It's like a popular book.
I've written it down. I've been taking notes. And it's funny like how fast an hour goes, like in real time.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause I only checked the time and was like, wow, we're nearly finished. You know,
You're like, I'm not ready.
because I don't been on before, and it's like I've had to take over the conversation because the person is struggling, like
Yeah.
dynamic. Oh, it's kind of gone over. How long did these things
I
usually
don't know.
last?
Maybe it might let you do it. Maybe they've changed it.
And then it cuts it off. Okay, so the
We'll
last
keep
5
going.
minutes, so you can talk about the things that the people that are listening in and who watch it in the future, where they can find you, what you've got coming up, and any what's the word? Any takeaways? That's the word I was looking for.
Okay. So, how should I do this? We'll do this first. So, I got 2 books. This book, Returning Home to Self.
Yeah.
It's a journaling workbook. It's got prompts. It's got quotes. Little things like what we were talking about. So, what do you want more of? What your needs are. Meditations. Specifically for women of color.
Good.
You can get this on Amazon.
And Amazon, yeah.
Yeah. I recently released this one, Unfolding with Ease,
Okay.
also on Amazon. This one is more generalized. She could be a man or a woman. And it's got like little therapeutic exercises, so colouring in, habit trackers. But it's also filled with journal prompts about specific areas, so identity, forgiveness, boundaries, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, you don't specifically have to be a person of colour. So this is a very, very nice one. You can get, they both come in paperback and hardback. But I believe if it's hardback, it will take a little bit longer for you to get it because hardbacks are done in the US, Amazon warehouse. I don't know. The UK don't do the hardbacks. So I'm just letting you guys know in case you're doing thinking, oh, for God's sake, why is it going to take 2 weeks, 3 weeks for it to come? That's why.
Silly.
So stupid.
We don't have.
In regards to, what did you say?
We don't have hardbacks in Europe. Like, there's not a place that does.
You can sell it in Europe, but you can't get your hardback made in Europe. I don't get it.
Anyway, I'm gonna get a, what do you call it? Softback. No, what do you call it?
Paperback. Softback. In regards to services, so free service that I do the last Sunday of every month at midday. I do what we call Sacred Moments, which is like the community wellness get together for women of colour, and it's literally us coming together to do some self-inventory on what's gone on for us throughout that month or season, depending on how you class whatever a season is. And we focus on where we're at, what we're grateful for, where we want to go, and how we can empower ourselves. And it gives us an opportunity to come together and share. Because another thing that I found that because of the experiences Black women or women of colour have with each other, sometimes they find it very difficult to be among each other. So not to say that the workshop had aggravation, but it almost helps people, women of colour, to improve how they view each other and know that we can create that safe protection and support for each other. It's not always one against another. So like I said, every Sunday, end of the month, last Sunday, that's when that takes place. And I'll probably put a link up on my page or something so you guys can register by just tapping on. I've recently launched what I'm calling a journal drop-in. So it's 30 minutes that you get to spend with me. It comes with a fee, and with that we can work on something you're struggling with. We'll write our way through it within those 30 minutes, and then you also get provided with like a follow-up sheet of what's kind of come up for you, and I'll leave you with some additional prompts that you can work through at your own time. I'm contemplating if I should do like a pack, but because I've just launched it, I haven't gauged how it's going to be received yet, so that could be something that comes up in the future. I will be doing more one-off workshops, and with that, because I want to make sure that there's pockets for everybody for certain things, because it's just important that everyone checks in with themselves. Because imagine if we all really checked in with ourselves, how the world could be. So there might be things that are specific only for the Black community. There might be things that are specific for everyone. There might be things I might just do for men only. And I might bring people like Stephen and other men that I know that are mental health advocates or also other writers to kind of help facilitate a space. What else have I got? You've got the website. So there's some free resources on there that you can check out. I have a blog. I have a weekly newsletter. So if you want to kind of edge your way in and see how you get on with prompts centered around specific themes, affirmations, things like that, I would highly encourage you to sign up to the newsletter. With that, drops every Sunday at 12. And I can leave the link for that as well in the stories. And I can also send all of this stuff to you, Stephen, so you can put it in the spaces that you need to put it in. But yeah, and I don't really use Instagram. I use this page, but it's more so like for books, and occasionally I put some journaling stuff on here. But you'll mainly find me on Twitter and LinkedIn under MP Narratives. I'll write it down for you how it will show up.
So you don't like the Instagram space?
Instagram's dodgy. That's probably why it's giving me feedback today.
Yeah.
Because I don't like it here. Yeah, I just feel like Instagram can be very, very forced and a lot about aesthetics and not actually about
Okay.
connections sometimes. So I'm wary of this space.
Yes. So I mean, I'd just like to say, if Hakeem, just before you go, if Hakeem can jump on very, very quickly, if you can, bro, it's not a problem. Nadine, I'm really, really grateful that you've given up your time on the weekend to come and talk to us about the work that fantastic work that you do.
Thank you.
I'm an advocate for everyone doing shadow work, whichever form you want to do it in.
Hmm.
Learning to be able to regulate and reflect and all the things that are important. Hakeem, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Nadine is jumping off. Hakeem is jumping on very quickly. So Hakeem is one of the another mindfulness teacher that I've connected with recently. Who was
Yes, I'm kind of glad to be in this space with you.
yes.
Sorry arriving so late, but
It's
I'm good.
okay. You can watch it all back.
Oh,
You can
really?
watch it.
Hopefully you can hear me when you watch it back.
Well, I can hear you loud and clear now. I was
Yeah,
taking what you were saying about journaling and things like that. I was like, yeah, good stuff.
good stuff. So Nadine, if you have to go, if you need
Yeah.
to go, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. We're going to do more stuff, so people need to look out because we've got things in the pipeline. So
This is the genesis. This is the genesis.
I'm
But the fact that
excited.
people are able to listen to what you do, because I think it's important that we have the platform to
Hmm.
let people know what we do. It isn't just about making money. It's about
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's about looking at our community and the
acts of
ways that we
service.
can help people in our community, like really look at themselves in order to become better people.
Better. Exactly.
But thank you. Happy Sundays. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Hopefully, reach out, connect. I'll find you, you find me.
Okay, you take care.
Speak to
Mr.
you
Hakeem,
soon.
Thank you, sis.
how you doing, sir? How was your session?
It was great. It was great. It was good. Today's focus was. Sorry, I'm walking around at the same time. Was
That's
if you were to write a letter to a young person, could be your own personal children or a young child, what
mm-hmm.
5 bullet points? What would you want them to know about you, and what would you want them to know in order to navigate the world, themselves and the world?
Oh wow.
So it was a deep session. It was a deep session. It was good. So 2 weeks again,
Yeah.
we start again. But it's a nice space. It's a nice space where I'm hoping it's providing, I suppose, black men the space to kind of be their authentic selves and to go deep, not to discuss surface level innovations, but to go deep.
So you deep dived.
Yeah. I mean, deep dive is that's an Ofsted term, but I think we go. I don't like Ofsted. We go in. we go in. We go in. Yeah, rather introspection. Yeah.
That's good. So I mean, I appreciate the work that you do. Um, I hope
Finish
that you can join us on this Wednesday. I've got a workshop coming up. I want Hakeem to be part of it if he's able to make it, because I know that school isn't easy.
Yeah, we've started back.
We've started back, and it's already like I,
Yep.
I got home from school on Friday. I fell asleep on the settee. That just shows you.
You know, I'm going to tell you a short story. Friday, I left school and I cycled and I stopped at Sainsbury's to pick up some things and I padlocked my bike to the lamppost. And when I came out, I was so tired. I realized I didn't padlock it to anything. Seriously, I got home and I just slept. I said, no, I'm tired. I'm locking up my bike and I didn't even lock it up.
Mm.
And I just thought, 2 days in school, that's all I had, 2 days. And I think, no. So yeah, school started back. But yes, Wednesday, God willing, I'll be there.
That's good. I'm really hoping that you can be part of it. For those who don't know, I'm doing a Mind Bubbles workshop between the hours of 7 and 8:30 in Dawson, Fox in the Box. I can link the event if you have any questions or you're interested. Just DM me. I can send you an Eventbrite link. We've got about 15 people coming so far. I hope we
That's a
can
good
have a
number.
little bit more. And I hope that I can do them monthly so we can get the community out looking at ways we can learn to be present. You know, that takes a lot of work and there's a lot of people doing it. But, you know, as people of colour, we all know that we suffer with the worst kind of stress. We need to kind of learn to start dealing with that, at least acknowledging it, you
Yeah,
know. So
it's
Hakeem is
true.
going to be part of that. So thank you for joining us, Hakeem. Yeah,
Yes, no problem.
thank you.
I'll catch you up on
Enjoy your
Wednesday.
Sunday, and I will see you, inshallah, on Wednesday.
Wednesday evening. Take it easy, brother.
Yeah, you take it easy. Thank you for everybody that tuned in, and hopefully we can do this on a monthly sessions, depending on feedback. Hope to see you soon, and enjoy your Sunday. Take care, everybody.